Do y'all remember in Captain America Civil War where Iron Man was fighting Bucky, Captain America, the super soldier tier level beings, and he was having an extremely hard time overpowering them? And there was even moments where Bucky would overpower his arm here, for example. As impressive as this is for Bucky and Captain America to be able to hang with Iron Man this much, what if I told you this was one of Iron Man's most weakest armors ever? The suit that Bucky and Captain America was fighting was a non-combatant armor, technically. And his suit was still that tough to take on. Imagine if Bucky and Captain America had to fight this, or his later nanotech suits that can shapeshift in later movies like this. Oh man, they would have been screwed, but that's not my business. Imagine being so smart that your intelligence itself basically gives you superpowers. I mean, that's Iron Man for you. The Battlesuit King, I would call him. Similar to comics, it's like this in the live action universe as well, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. See, the way his character works, it's kind of similar to real life on how technology improves as time goes by. Tony, when it comes to his battle suits, his suits are getting better through each movie later in the timeline. Because whether we see it or not, whether if it's happening off screen, he's always in the lab improving his battle suits. He takes the quote, knowledge is power seriously. He's always had money. He had like a weapons company, right? So these people said, let's capture the guy that made these super missiles.
Look forward to your weapons presentation.
It's the first missile system to incorporate our proprietary repulsor technology.
He wants you to build the missile for you to start working immediately, and when you're done, he will set you free.
Imagine being responsible for Tony Stark becoming a superhero because y'all wanted him to build a missile. He ended up making himself a small arc reactor to keep the shrapnel out of his heart, to keep him from dying, also powering up his first major battle suit. Like, yeah, they thought he was building a missile, but he was really making his first major battle suit in a freaking cave with limited resources in a terrorist place because of his intelligence. And this was like the start of his evolution throughout the movies, going on different adventures, getting new suits in each movie. This is just the beginning of it. Yeah, he's came a long way from this Mark I that doesn't even have a HUD or AI to liquid metal nanotech Iron Man-ish suits. I mean, let's analyze his strength, shall we? Iron Man. I hope you guys enjoy it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Every suit is constantly getting stronger and making improvements, but there's certain things that pretty much are a standard for Iron Man. Like, you know how on our phones we have this thing known as Siri, this AI that can talk to us? Let's just say Iron Man has this kind of stuff, but on steroids. Like, these AI are basically alive. They have full-blown conversations with them.
Jarvis, you there?
At your service, sir.
Engage heads-up display. 4-door preferences from home interface.
Good evening, boss.
He has glasses where it allows him to use AI even when he's not necessarily using his suit. So in a weird way, he always has assistance or outside help, one can say. I know what you're thinking. Well, just kill him before he gets a chance to suit up. I know that probably would be the simplest solution. Well, over the years, Tony Stark kind of realized this would be a strategy, and he kind of accommodated for this weakness too. Like I said, constantly making improvements because he put some bullcrap in his arms, like literally inside of himself, to where he can quite literally summon his own armor to him at will. So it's really hard to catch him off guard. He can just summon his suit to himself. He has the famous suitcase suit, so he can still suit up that way. A miniature Iron Man suit glove in his watch. He could literally like kind of cheat gangbang you and just summon his own army of suits and have them fight without him even being in every suit. Like, you just team up on you this way. Like, this is straight up cheating. In desperate situations, if he wants to protect his loved ones, he could actually force his suit on other beings to protect them, like he did Pepper here. He has full control of his suits, even if it's on somebody else. Like, for example, he can pull the suit back off of the person he threw it on. I mean, if he cares about you enough, he'll just be nice enough to give you your own suit. Like he did this for Pepper and his buddy Rhodes, the War Machine. I mean, he's the one that even made Spider-Man his suit, the Iron Spider suit, for Pete's sake. And can even summon it to Spider-Man, even if Spider-Man denies it. Like in this particular situation, he literally put the suit on Spider-Man. And that's how Spider-Man got armored up. He even has suits up in the satellites. Let that sink in. You're probably thinking, why don't we just rob him somehow while he's asleep or something, steal his suits, and then we can use his powerful suits without his permission, right? That's what you're thinking.
That's awesome. Give me a suit, okay? Oh, I'm sorry, they're only coded to me.
Well, according to Mr. Stark's database security guidelines, there are redundancies to prevent unauthorized usage.
You're not using his suits without his consent. Not to mention, if Jarvis and Friday found out you're in his suit, they would probably eject you out of the suit anyway or something. Like if you're not Tony. I know he's a battle suit king, so it's hard to believe that Tony Stark actually does go through some fight training here and there, hand-to-hand combat type stuff. But the thing is, his suit can literally give him super fighting skills.
Analyze his fight pattern.
Scanning. Countermeasures ready.
Let's kick his ass.
So in a way, whatever fighting skills he might lack, his suit can kind of give him fighting skills by analyzing a character's fight pattern or something. This also brings me to the other topic of how each suit, there's different suits that vary greatly in power level. Like there's certain suits to where he struggles with super soldier tiers. Like super soldiers are ridiculously strong, but there's certain suits that struggle with super soldier tiers in strength, right? And then he has certain suits that can hit so hard that where it actually can knock a Hulk tooth out. So they're drastically different in power level. If Captain America fought this Iron Man, he would be doomed. Just a friendly reminder that there's an absurd gap between Hulk and a super soldier tier. Blonsky right here is basically a super soldier, by the way, guys. And super soldiers get one shot by the Hulk. So just throwing that out there. It does show that Iron Man suits give Iron Man super strength, but they vary in strength. Like struggling with a super soldier, then punching a tooth out of Hulk is two different levels of power. You see what I mean? Or kind of restraining Hulk temporarily on certain occasions. They let you know the different suits' power levels. This version of the Hulkbuster is weaker than this version of the Hulkbuster. This one is newer. You see what I mean? You see how this is going to go? Just give you an idea of what this video is going to go. So just a warning, I'm going to be jumping back and forth between all different tiers of different suits though. I will try to specify though. For example, suits down here are weaker than a random upper echelon suit up here. I mean, even when we start deep diving into the lore, they even talk about how the upgraded suits are mightier and such than the previous suits. You see what I mean? But regardless of what suit we're talking about, there are certain perks that every suit have that are like common Iron Man centric type things. Like he can pretty much fly in every suit. Like his first suit probably had the worst flying, but other than that, every other suit can fly. MCU Iron Man, no matter which suit, for the most part, he can shoot laser beams, repulsor blasts from his hand. So he has blast power on top of his super strength and stuff, which I'm gonna go over a lot. The unibeam from his chest, that's one of his famous things too. When we're talking about his final suit repulsors, let's just say they get kind of crazy on how many repulsors he can shoot out at the same time. You can also argue Thor and Iron Man is like the best tag team because Thor technically can amp up Iron Man via his suit blast. It would be weird if his name is Iron Man and he's not bulletproof. All kinds of missiles he can blast with a targeting system. I mean, his very first suit had a flamethrower. In his latest suit, of course, you see he has flamethrowers in his fingers. This is light work. This is his newer suit. Apparent sedative gas. This is probably an EMP. He completely shuts down his helicopter with his device. He has countermeasures if somebody shrinks and goes into his circuitry of his suits, like Ant-Man, for example. I don't know how Tony knew to prep for something like this, but he has a counter for his sneaking into his small circuits to push a small being out of his suit. I mean, his later suits get ridiculous, man. Like when it comes, like they literally are full-blown shape-shifting liquid metal type suits, like because of nanomachines. I'll let them explain it.
I'm glad you brought this up because it's nothing. It's just a housing unit for nanoparticles. It's nanotech. You like it?
In other words, all that summoning stuff I showed you, all that stuff is no longer needed because he can technically have his suit on him at all times. It just don't take up no space. What's the point of summoning your suit when you just have it on you all the time? The middle of his chest has his entire suit. Like all of it can fit on him at all times. You see how the circuitry looks? Yep. He can make his own full-blown energy type shields or just literally shapeshift his liquid metal armor or nanotech armor. Make a shield. In the comic interpretations, you see these shields that, shapeshifts and makes this giant cannon, can create his own dagger. If there's holes in ships, he can like do some spray to kind of seal up the BS. We've even seen him use his own spray on his stab wound. Seems to be able to make his own battering rams via shapeshifting, increase his strikes with more concussive force, I would assume. Same with making his own bladed weapons. But how strong is Iron Man? Like starting off with a bang, even in the weaker days, suit Mark 1 type days, when it comes to how much they can lift, based on the lore of the suits, we already kind of got a bare minimum what the weakest suit can do. So any other suit should be able to technically do better. They even dub it a prototype suit. Even this suit can lift 900 pounds, way stronger than your average human. The arms can lift 900 pounds. I'm a weightlifter, so if I'm not mistaken, he's casually just lifting up 225, but some of the plates fell off, but he can still toss it around like nothing. In one of his newer suits, and he's still not at full power, can catch a car, and is strong enough to safely put the car down. Right. His Hulkbuster suit can obviously catch cars. Of course, his higher end suits can swing around elevators. An elevator that has people inside of it, he catches it. Like in the handbook type stuff, his earlier suits are confirmed to be able to support up to 3 tons at least. And these earlier suits, his newer suits can definitely lift more though. But yeah, comics that are part of the MCU, there's implications he can support the weight of helicopters, even in weaker suits, not even close to his latest suits, nanotech suits. These are just still mechanical suits. Can also support the weight of jets with his strength. The giant Stark Tower S, he can support that weight. This is partly because of speed and thrusters. He helped restart the helicarrier engine, spinning it like this. Nuclear missiles that are pretty large, he can push them upwards There was a whole bunch of beings. This is during the Age of Ultron. He had to support the weight of all of this mess. This probably weighs over 60 plus tons. He like looks small compared to this big old floating boat. Anything War Machine could do, Iron Man could do. He literally is the one that created both these armors. And we've seen War Machine lift actual tanks, proving that the main Iron Man himself can indeed lift more than just cars, but can lift 30 to 60 plus ton tanks. I mean, that's pretty obvious at this point. Plus, he's able to help planes land properly. Like I said earlier, his suit's very empowered, but like when it comes to raw strength, some of his later suits, like for example, his suit in Spider-Man Homecoming, the movie, there's this actual ferry. This is something that exists in real life that has an actual official weight, and it was splitting apart, literally down the middle. Spider-Man's webs couldn't even hold this stuff together. Spider-Man was straining. Iron Man is the one like this all around the boat and pushed all of this back together. According to Wikipedia, it weighs over 2,000 tons, and Iron Man had to push this together. You can look at it like this, like maybe his mid-tier or above suits can lift over 2,000 plus tons based on that ferry boat feat. God knows how heavy this is. In this battle with Thanos on Titan, I don't know how he did this, but he apparently lifted this up and pushed it on Thanos. It's like it's the size of a building or some crap. He slammed on him. Further backing up, his higher-end suits can definitely lift 2,000s of tons. I know I've been going over lifting feats, but if he can support all that weight or push that kind of weight together, wouldn't you kind of agree that depending on certain suits, like especially in the Spider-Man Homecoming suit, as a bare minimum based on that pushing the boat back together feat of something that weighs thousands of tons, he would be able to hit or exert that kind of pressure in a strike or something if he flew into you or something like that? Wouldn't that make sense for us to assume he can hit with over 2,000 tons of force as a bare minimum? Would you agree Thanos is strong when it comes to his muscles in every aspect, right? Wouldn't you agree his forearm strength is pretty strong too? Thanos in this particular situation actually, his muscles actually overpowered Hulk's muscle. Don't forget this. And how Thanos can match muscles with Thor and even overpower Thor's muscles with the freaking Stormbreaker. Like, why is this impressive, you're saying? And what does this have to do with Iron Man? This has a lot to do with Iron Man, considering Thanos can do this to Thor with his muscle, right? You remember this neutron star with these rings and stuff, these mountainous-sized rings Thor had to manually move because the equipment was messing up? Like, you see how big these things are? Just to give you a visual perspective on how tiny Thor is. Yeah, look at the size of Thor compared to these rings. We literally see Thor manually move this stuff that Thanos overpowered this same guy's muscle, guys. Let that sink in. You're probably wondering, what the heck does this have to do with Iron Man? Iron Man shoots a device at Thanos to where he can't even close his hand, despite Thanos' forearm strength. This would imply that the higher-end suits like the Hulkbuster and the Infinity War Iron Man suit could possibly support weights like this if he can stop Thanos' forearm from squeezing the gauntlet and such. You know what I mean? Let's look at his feats on how hard he can hit, or without no pun intended, or how hard he can blast, like either or his punches or his blast power. His weakest suits can one-shot beings and send them flying. So, of course, any suit after this would automatically be able to punch harder. Look at these doors. They don't stand a chance. The weight of his hits can accidentally dig into a cave wall. Even in super early suits, he can punch through walls. How many tons of force do you think this is to crack the concrete after the punch? He honestly should have splattered like the junk from The Boys. Fighting another being that has a battle suit like him, we see him use his thrusters to kind of ram this being through walls, through trucks and such. Can we all agree when it comes to how hard he can punch? It's safe to say any suit, even his weaker suits, can easily strike or punch through concrete walls. If he can punch with 2,000 tons of force, this should be a given. I mean, we've seen cars ram at him in full force and they just splat on his armor. Him fighting another suit, they're just casually breaking through the ceilings of a house and such. Even his lighter suits, like the suitcase suit, can kick cars away like this. There was like these hammer drones he can just splat with his strikes. Even in his early suits in Iron Man 1, the movie, he has missiles that can easily one-shot and destroy tanks. We see his later suit blast a tank and bust it up. I mean, his punches can already produce thousands of tons of force, and he can just literally shoot blast or missiles that can level buildings and blow them down too if he wanted to, like how he blew up a tank with ease. Somebody that's a multiple stories tall, we see him punch. Like in the comic stuff, he blasted and made a big explosion on a ship this large, for example. This gives further evidence that he could blow away a building if he wanted to, with repulsors, missiles, either or. His blast clashing with another one of his suits caused a bomb-looking type of explosion to go off. The good thing about Iron Man is that they actually give us numbers when you deep dive into the lore about how much output of his energy he can produce with his different suits or unibeams or blasts or anything like that, his lasers. They actually give us actual measurable real-life numbers we can then convert to kind of understand the raw concussive force he can blast out with. Like, there's legit armors in the lore that's literally lower tier armors like Mark IV. This is not Mark VI, not Hulkbuster level or nothing. Like, these are lower tier armors. And even these are talked about how the energy output they can produce, like the arc reactor that he's being powered by, the energy output is 8 gigajoules per second. I think we can safely assume based on it, you know, based on this area that it's pointing at, it's talking about like is either the arc reactor or, you know, the uni beams blast power, the raw output this can produce. Look what his missile does to this junk right here, for example, when it comes to blast power. Look at the blast of his lasers. Like if this missile would have hit Bucky, it ought to have been it for Bucky. Like look at the blast. Look at all that stuff it did from that one blast Iron Man shot. Yeah. And we're talking about his unibeam blast power. Look what it did to Bucky's arm, guys. Speaking of leveling buildings, when it comes to how hard he can hit, we literally seen him level a building by drilling the Hulk through it like this, for example, in one of his higher end suits. MCU Iron Man's laser beams have numbers that are ridiculous. Like you thought these numbers were absurd, but do you remember this scene there in Iron Man 2? There was this implications that these lasers that he can blast out with can produce 200 petawatts. One could argue these are like one-off lasers though, but they're piercingly powerful. One-shotting all the opponents. You guys can fact check me. Iron Man being able to produce this kind of energy with his lasers kind of proves that he can hit with the force of some of the largest nuclear bombs ever. Like I'm talking about 40 million tons of force or 40 megatons of force type of force. That's what this 200 petawatt junk means. Yes, that's right. MCU Iron Man has attacks or lasers that can feel like the equivalent pressure of a nuclear bomb ramming onto you. And what do you think his higher end suits can do? This is still technically on his lower end side of suits. And then technically, let's not forget, if Thor wanted to, he could technically multiply Iron Man's raw power output, multiplied by 4. He has the ability to blast lightning at Iron Man and make his suit go up to 400% power.
Power at 400% capacity.
How about that?
In a weird way, Thor could multiply his power by 4. Like, you know, if his normal power level is at 100%, he goes all the way up to 400%. You see what I mean? That's like a multiplication of 4. So hypothetically speaking, wouldn't Iron Man be able to use these lasers that already have the power of some of the strongest nuclear bombs and multiply that by 4? It would be like this nuclear power already brought up, but times 4, the largest nuke multiplied by 4, like Iron Man blasting with that kind of force and his weaker suits. Like, imagine that. Oh, remember how I talked about how he's always improving? Oh yeah, remember this 8 gigajoules per second thing in these older suits, like this Mark IV, for example? Like this is a low end suit. In his lore, it's actually stated that Tony Stark's updated arc reactor in later movies and stuff, the output of this energy is actually increased by 1,000. 8 gigajoules multiplied 1,000. Like what? That would kind of reaffirm the nuclear type stuff. Let's just assume that this Hulkbuster suit can do all that stuff too when it comes to blast power. So right off the gate of it being a Hulkbuster suit, I think we can assume that that city shattering stuff should apply for this suit too. It can quake cities to its very core with its hits, or its blast can hit with the equivalent force to be equivalent to nuclear bombs. You know, that's similar stuff that the weaker suits can do. This one should be able to do too. It's a Hulkbuster. But when we analyze this further, how hard it can hit, there's quite a bit of evidence that these beings can hit even harder than this, Iron Man included in this conversation. Harder than the strongest nuclear type explosions at that. Like, here's the thing. Hulk's power does vary with his anger. He does get stronger with anger, but there's even points where Iron Man was kind of had him restrained. Matter of fact, this Hulkbuster can hit so hard, even when his arm is pretty much messed up, he can send the Hulk flying with a hit. With the weight of his swings and blasts. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, similar to comics, the Hulk and Thor be fighting a lot, right? And to kind of give an idea of how hard the Hulk can hit and how durable he is, what he can withstand, is kind of looking at Thor stuff. I mean, because you already remember the occasion of Thor hitting with so much weight that he blew up the entire city of Sokovia with one strike. He was right next to that explosion, by the way, just to throw that in there. Like, this is the type of stuff Thor and Hulk type beings be doing. We've seen Thor here do all of this, and you're probably thinking, what's so impressive about this? No, this is more than what it seems, because based on MCU handbooks and guidebooks, Thor apparently shook or quaked this entire planet with that same blow. This is back in the Thor 1 days. You know, Thor has gotten stronger since then. So this is like early days Thor. This kind of stuff is reiterated that Thor can shake an entire ice planet with his strikes and stuff. It's no secret that when it comes to durability and how hard these beings' skin is, Hulk and Thor's weight of their hits can damage each other. Like how Hulk punched Thor here, and there's implications he kind of damaged him. Blood was dripping apparently. Like we seen Hulk get hit by Thor's hammer in the face. This is the same being that can shake entire planets and he hit Hulk. Just let that sink in for a second. But guess what? The weight of Iron Man's punches in this super suit is strong enough to punch a tooth out of Hulk's mouth. Didn't make it matter though, but the fact that he can knock a tooth out of the Hulk's mouth Considering that this guy's taking hits from Thor, somebody that can shake entire planets consistently, and they're matching each other's strength consistently, this would kind of imply if Iron Man was in a similar situation when it comes to the weight of Iron Man's hits, there's a good chance he would be able to do the same when it comes to shaking entire planets. Because Hulk is freaking durable, guys. Hulk is a being that can constantly take hits from Thor, somebody that can shake an entire ice planet. It's not like the Earth, but that's still impressive, an icy, large planetoid. Iron Man in his higher end suits, in his Hulkbuster or above suits that are in this strength level, obviously, should technically be able to do a similar feat when it comes to the amount of energy they can produce with their punches, based on him being able to knock a tooth out of the Hulk's mouth, based on Hulk's durability, being able to take hits from Mjolnir, Thor hitting Hulk consistently. And then if you want to talk about when Hulk was in the process of calming down, sure, this was kind of an off-guard hit, but Hulk still is extremely durable. And the fact that Iron Man actually knocked him out with that punch, even though it was off guard and it was a cheap shot, that shows the weight of Iron Man's hits in his suit. He's a heavy hitter, guaranteed. It all points to the fact that he can hit as hard as the heavy hitters, at least in this point in the MCU. Would I say he's necessarily as strong as Hulk raged out? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but yeah, he might be somewhere behind him. Like maybe if the Hulk's like 100, maybe Hulkbuster Iron Man might be like a 70 or 65 out of 100. You see what I mean? Not too far off, you know what I mean? It's really hard to measure how big the Jotunheim planet is compared to Earth, but let's just say since it's a planetoid, let's lowball it and just assume the weight of a Hulkbuster by default would be able to hit with punches that could shake an entire country or something. Wouldn't that be fair? There's really no way to measure the Jotunheim planet, really. I mean, this right here is probably something his weaker suits can't do. We literally seen his fist clash with a Hulk punch and they made a shockwave. But I don't want to overhype this suit at all. I think Hulk has the advantage because the suit kept on getting messed up throughout this fight. And Iron Man had to keep on sending in replacement parts because the Hulk kept on busting this suit up. There's times in the MCU where the Hulkbuster is being used, but Iron Man isn't technically using it. But let's be honest, this should apply for Iron Man too. I mean, it's his suit he made. Even though Bruce is in the Hulkbuster and this is not Tony Stark, I'm going to count it for Iron Man. This is what Iron Man made. You can look at this like a strength feat for the Hulkbuster suit, but the Hulkbuster suit was helpful in restraining Thanos in this particular situation. Like, Thanos was kind of overpowering Captain Marvel's leg right there, and the Hulkbuster helped restrain him. No, you think I'm just talking noise? Thanos was literally overpowering Captain Marvel's leg right here until the Hulkbuster came. No, so I'm not just talking noise. Hulkbuster is a helpful aid in restraining Thanos. So it lets you know the power of it. Even if we're not talking about the Hulkbuster suit, a good argument can be made that the suits, that's not necessarily the Hulkbuster suits anymore, like his latest suits and raw strength, one could argue it's actually stronger than the Hulkbuster suit. One could say his normal suit has surpassed the Hulkbuster suit based on its performance, is way more up to date. The reason why I'm saying this is because when you deep dive into looking into his performances with the character Thanos, somebody that's Hulk level strong, and you all remember what Thanos did to Hulk. So like, yeah, these performances with Thanos is something to really put into consideration about his normal suits currently being stronger than his Hulkbusters in the past. I think we all can agree Hulk and Thor are like the bruisers of the Avengers. I'm talking about muscle strength level beings. Like, I would say those two are the brutes. And we've seen Thanos do this to the raw muscle of the group. Even godlike beings like Thor, we not only see him use Stormbreaker, but we was seeing Thanos getting a contest of strength with Thor and overpowering his muscle right here, literally almost killing Thor. I'm bringing all this stuff up for a reason, guys. When it comes to Iron Man, you know how strong Thor is, right? We keep on seeing Thanos and Thor clashing muscles, and Thanos is overpowering them. Even Captain America that had Thor's strength, level strength, got overpowered, even when they was working together. Iron Man would shoot pieces of his nanotech suit to Thanos, so Thanos can't close his hand, and it was actually strong enough to stop Thanos from closing his hand. Like, I'm not saying anybody's completely equal to Thanos during this point in time, but the fact that Iron Man is shooting stuff at Thanos' grip that was stopping him from being able to close his hand just kind of lets you know that, yeah, Iron Man's not a lightweight. Now, this brings me to the point of why I'm saying his current Iron Man suit in Infinity War is above his Hulkbuster armor. Thanos literally had the Infinity Gauntlet, guys. He had stones in his possession that have literally limitless power. We literally get some glimpses of how hard Iron Man can hit when it comes to the Thanos. The Russos have already confirmed that Thanos has Hulkish-like strength. Iron Man's suit is getting broken from the hits from Thanos, but he's not getting one shot. We literally seen Iron Man trap Thanos to the ground and hit Thanos so hard it actually made him bleed. It was like only a scratch though. The reason why this is impressive because we literally seen this same Thanos get punched by Hulk himself over and over again. I'm just trying to give you an understanding on why him doing this is ridiculous. This suit should technically be able to do anything the Hulkbuster stuff can do. And you guys remember what I just talked about earlier about what the Hulkbuster can do compared to the Hulk level beings and such. There's also a chance that this Iron Man in his higher end suit is a planet buster. You're probably like, what? No way. No, think about it for a second. There's extremely mighty heroes in the MCU like Captain Marvel who struck Thanos several times, couldn't knock out Thanos after 4 hits in a row. So Thanos is durable. Remember when Thanos was weakened battle damage from using the gauntlet 2 times? She blasted him like this, for example. Like, yeah, it's been plenty of times. Like, these are powerful heroes in Marvel. Captain Marvel literally has enough raw energy to reignite dying stars, guys. Iron Man is able to make a guy bleed that can withstand hits from somebody like this without getting cut. She was hitting Thanos and he wasn't bleeding from her hits. Iron Man made him bleed. I'm not saying he's necessarily equal to Captain Marvel either. You believe this suit is as strong as the Hulkbuster suits yet, or stronger yet? Making this being bleed with his hits? Even though it was a small paper cut, that's still impressive considering he took attacks from Captain Marvel, somebody that could reignite stars. But I don't want to overhype him, guys. I'm not saying Iron Man is as strong as Thanos. Like, I'm not saying that. But the fact he made him bleed, get a paper cut, he did pretty freaking well. And he had the gauntlet, guys. All of this stuff would imply Iron Man in this new suit can hit with planet-shattering type of force, comparing them to the heavy hitters. Thanos can withstand hits from beings that can reignite stars. Making Thanos bleed with his straw strikes implies he can hit with the force needed to shatter a planet, honestly, based on how durable Thanos is. If you still think this planet-shattering stuff is BS, well, explain this. Thanos blasted Iron Man with these purple beams. You know what these purple beams are? The Infinity Stone Power Stone blast, guys. And we literally seen Iron Man withstand these blasts for a little while, guys. Do you know how strong these Power Stones is, guys? This is absolutely crazy. Obviously, there's no real way to tell how much power Thanos used when he was blasting Tony Stark. Obviously, there's no way to prove how much he blasted with. But let's just say these Infinity Stones, the Power Stone literally has infinite power. We've literally seen a Celestial with the Power Stone actually wipe out the surface of entire planets, destroy entire planets, just like this, guys. In Marvel lore, it's even talked about how this Power Stone can destroy the universe. And I definitely believe it based on what we know about the comics. And they're kind of mimicking the comic stuff with the MCU. Yeah, it literally has infinite power. And I'm not exaggerating. Even when you go on Marvel.com, like, it's literally talked about how Thanos wants to use the Infinity Stones to, you know, use their limitless power. It's not an exaggeration. And this is talking about the live action version of the stones. I ain't trying to say he's a universe buster or nothing, but he was withstanding blasts from something that can easily destroy planets and wipe out the universe at full power. I'm not saying he was getting blasted with universe-shattering power, but hey, that planet-shattering stuff starts to make more sense. Or even star-shattering stuff starts to make more sense when you see him shield from that kind of stuff, and then you can make him bleed, and the stuff that Thanos can withstand. It all starts to make sense when you put 2 and 2 together and you use critical thinking. And imagine if Thor did what he used to do back in the older suits in his newer suit. If his newer suits can technically hit with planet-shattering force, you know, being able to damage Thanos but with bleeding and stuff, imagine that force multiplied by 4 thanks to Thor. Did we kind of see that happen in the new movie? When Thor had the Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, we kind of seen him get supercharged. There's a lot of things to think about. I mean, we can briefly go over his combat speed in his older suits when it comes to his reflexes. We literally seen him react to a missile. All these arrows he shot out the air. Notice Bucky aiming at him. He's able to shoot the gun out of his hand before he can actually shoot. The suit is probably helping him with his combat speed. For sure, shooting all these arrows out of the air. When it comes to his raw flight speed, he can break the sound barrier. And heck, he can even go way faster than the speed of sound, 1,500 miles per hour to be exact. In early suits, he even has some battle suits that specialize in speed. It even talks about how it even exceeds speeds of Mach 5, so over 5 times the speed of sound suits. These suits are still one of the weaker end suits compared to his newer suits like the one in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. If he wants to pull out lasers, I guess via lasers, using his lasers, he can attack you at light speed because he literally has things that can shoot out literal laser beams of light speed attacks. You know what I mean? So he technically has light speed laser blasts he can shoot at you. But yeah, guys, MCU Iron Man is pretty strong. You probably didn't know he was this strong, but he went out like a true hero. He truly is Iron Man. He's the one that defeated Thanos in the end by using the Infinity Stones to wipe them all out. But Tony Stark also believes you should hit that like button, guys. It would really help me out a lot. These videos ain't easy to make. He's really strong. Hit that like button for me real quick. And thanks for the donations, everybody. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.